it takes a village, as they say, and it looks to me like you've got a great village here. So, first of all, the Democracy Cup. We've been awarding the Democracy Cup to cities and towns since the year 2000, so 20 years now. And it was co-sponsored. I always like people to know that these were donated by a gentleman from something called the East Haddam Civic Association. He just wanted to do something to reward people for voting and reward towns for doing a good job of administering elections well before anything that went on in 2020, which we all know was a very contentious and difficult time for elections. So we award in 4 categories based on town size. Small towns, mid-sized towns, you are considered a large town, and cities. So for 2020, there was Burlington was the small town, Newtown was the mid-sized town, and Glastonbury was the large town. Why did you win? Because you had an 88.66% turnout of voters in one of the largest turnouts in the state ever. I think we had the largest voter turnout and the largest registration of voters, so a larger percentage of a larger number of people. Elizabeth was just telling me that they registered, what was it you said, 2,000 people?
Close to 2,000 new, just in the 2 months running up to the election.
Right,
yeah,
so that just shows the scope of what was done. And of course, you had the absentee ballot situation, you had COVID. This was the most difficult election cycle I can remember in my many, many years of doing these sorts of things. And so my hat is off to every local official, and I will recognize right here the town manager, Richard Johnson, town clerk, Michelle Krampitz, there she is, Michelle, registrars of voters, Mark Dobbins and Elizabeth Becker, and of course the Glastonbury State Delegation. You are here today too, and I should mention the reason we were able to do all this was really because when we came to April of last year, and it's hard to remember back where we were saying, I went to the governor's office and we looked at each other, we're like, how are we gonna hold an election under these circumstances? And that's when he issued an executive order that allowed people, for the first time, under the circumstance of the pandemic and this incredible emergency we were in, to get an absentee ballot if they felt they needed one. Because we never wanted anyone to choose between their health and their vote. It just didn't seem right. So, and then the legislature came into a special session, I think it was in August, to ratify that idea. And they passed it, and I'm so grateful to you guys for doing that, because that's what made this all possible. And so, as a result, I think we had the most successful election I can remember. We had the fewest problems, stunningly, considering all these factors. And so, you know, again, I just want to hand it to all the election officials, especially the registrars. You guys were amazing. Town clerk's office, who had to deal with all these absentee ballots. Just to give you an idea, a few statistics. In the 2020 election statewide, a record 1,861,000 people cast a ballot. The total state turnout, 79.7%. You guys obviously did better than that. 650,000 people cast absentee ballots. 93% of those absentee ballots were returned, and 35% overall of all the ballots cast were cast by absentee ballot, with a rejection rate of less than 1%, less than ever. So I think we all did a really good job of letting the public know how this works, why we were doing it. And I was just talking to Elizabeth, and she said she had questions from people who had never voted before, but wanted to vote in this election, and we were able to get that information to them. So that was a key piece of this. And then the last thing I want to mention are the volunteers. We had 10,000 people come through our website that we set up with the governor's office. 10,000 people volunteered to work on the elections this year. And I know they were flooding the local offices. Everyone wanted to help. And that's extraordinary as well. And so thank you for accommodating these people, because once people work at the polls and see what it's about, they're much more likely to participate in the future. And especially the young people. We had an incredible turnout of 18 to 24-year-olds this election. And they came out and volunteered at the polls as well. So all these factors are really just so gratifying after years. I have to throw away all my speeches about how everybody's apathetic and doesn't vote. And I have to start making the new speech, which is that everybody's voting, and it's wonderful, and everyone helped out. So, you know, I don't have to tell you guys how important that is for all of us. The more people that are participating, the better our democracy is. So, kudos to Glastonbury. You did a wonderful job, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.